Modern television as we know it was born on January 10th, 1999. On that day, HBO introduced us to Tony Soprano, a middle-aged mob boss, both weary and magnetic, who sat down in a therapist's office to face the panic attacks tearing his life apart. But there was a problem. Tony couldn't be completely honest with Dr. Jennifer Melfi because his anxiety wasn't just about family drama or work stress. Tony was a mobster. The Sopranos, created by David Chase, wasn't just another gangster story. It was a revolution. Critics now call it one of the greatest TV shows ever made. Its writing, its characters, its performances, all set a new standard for television. And in 2020, during lockdown, millions of new fans discovered it for the first time, binging all 6 seasons as if it had just premiered. In this video, we're going to explore how The Sopranos changed television forever, why Tony Soprano is closer to a character from Russian literature than a Hollywood gangster, why we still argue about whether we should sympathize with him, and why without this show, the golden age of television might never have happened.
But you know, the heyday, the golden age, or whatever of the mob, that's gone. And that's never coming back. And they have only themselves to blame.
Phenomenal.
To understand the impact of The Sopranos, we need to look at TV before 1999. In the 90s, television was dominated by sitcoms and procedurals. Every episode wrapped up neatly. Friends ended with a punchline. Law and Order closed with a verdict. Nothing carried over. The idea of long-form, serialized storytelling was rare.
I don't think sex should be a punishable offense either. But I do think that talking about sex at the breakfast table is a punishable offense. So no more sex talk, okay?
It's the 90s. Parents are supposed to discuss sex with their children.
Yeah, but that's where you're wrong. You see, out there, it's the 1990s. But in this house, it's 1954.
Complex characters? Moral ambiguity? That was considered too risky for mainstream audiences. Meanwhile, HBO was trying something different. Their slogan was, "It's not TV, it's HBO." They were betting on edgier, more cinematic shows that cable networks couldn't do. Oz had already pushed boundaries in 1997. But when The Sopranos premiered, it proved something bigger. That television could be as rich and layered as film, maybe even more so. At the heart of it all was Tony Soprano. For decades, television had given us clean-cut heroes, but Tony, he was different. He was a father who loved his kids and a criminal who could kill without hesitation.
Are you trying to get me to lose my temper because I'm about to put you through that goddamn window?
See? That's what I mean. Life is absurd.
Don't say that. God forgive you.
There is no God.
Hey!
Where is this coming from?
That contradiction made him fascinating. Sitting in therapy, Tony exposed his fears, his insecurities, his panic attacks.
You're not prepared!
We saw him struggle with the same issues any suburban dad might face: money, family, aging parents. Except he also had to worry about FBI surveillance and mob wars. This blend of vulnerability and brutality made Tony feel real. He wasn't written to be admired. He wasn't written to be hated. He was written to be understood. That complexity created what we now call the anti-hero era of television. Without Tony, there would be no Walter White, no Don Draper, no string of morally compromised protagonists who defined the next 2 decades of TV.
I am here! I have things to say!
Besides, bring the fucking chairs down and did you sign the living trust? She's a grown fucking woman who's been kicked around, and she's been on her own, and she's had to fight and struggle.
Unlike me, is that it? Who the fuck wanted it like this?
And James Gandolfini's performance sealed it. He could shift from tender to terrifying in a heartbeat, making Tony one of the most human characters ever put on screen.
Like fucking King Midas in reverse here. Everything I touch turns to shit. I'm not a husband to my wife. I'm not a father to my kids. I'm not a friend to my friends. I'm nothing.
But it wasn't just the character. The Sopranos changed the way stories were told on TV. First, serialization. The show demanded that you watch every episode in order. Miss one, and you were lost. That binge-worthy structure we take for granted today, it started here. Second, the writing. David Chase and his team weren't afraid of ambiguity. They left questions unanswered, threads dangling, forcing audiences to think, to argue, to rewatch. Third, the tone. The Sopranos could swing from violent mob hits to absurd comedy in the same episode. One moment brutal, the next surreal. It mirrored life itself, messy, unpredictable, contradictory. And stylistically, the show borrowed from cinema. Long tracking shots, dream sequences, symbolism layered into dialogue and imagery. TV had never looked or felt like this before. All of this forced audiences to adjust. Viewers weren't just watching passively. They were engaging, interpreting, debating. Television became art that demanded attention.
The ripple effects were enormous. The Sopranos proved that audiences were hungry for complexity, that they wanted characters who were flawed, stories that were layered, and endings that weren't neatly tied up. It also redefined how TV was made. Suddenly, Hollywood actors, writers, and directors were drawn to television, seeing it not as a downgrade from film, but as a place where more ambitious stories could be told. Streaming platforms like Netflix and HBO Max built their entire business models on that idea. The prestige TV boom, the binge model, the obsession with anti-heroes, it all traces back to The Sopranos. And then there's the ending. June 10th, 2007. Millions of viewers tuned in for the final episode. Tony Soprano sits in a diner with his family. Journey's "Don't Stop Believin'" plays on the jukebox. Tension builds with every passing second. A man heads to the bathroom. Meadow struggles to park the car, and then cut to black. For 10 seconds, audiences thought their cable had gone out, but no. That was the ending. Ambiguous, unresolved. Did Tony die? Did he live? David Chase has never said. And that's the point. The ending wasn't about answers, it was about perspective. Life doesn't always give you closure, sometimes it just cuts to black. The fact that we're still debating it nearly 2 decades later is proof of the show's power. Sopranos wasn't just a great TV show, it was a turning point. It showed us that television could rival cinema in depth and artistry, that audiences could handle complexity, ambiguity, and moral gray areas, that characters didn't need to be heroes to be unforgettable. In short, The Sopranos changed television forever. And once you've seen it, you'll never look at TV the same way again.